I was born in Iraq. I woke up to the world with a nice family, a very good hard-working father, an incredible hard-working mother, a beautiful younger sister, and a smart little brother. In 1975, I finished high school. The world for me was like a beautiful game. I enrolled in the Baghdad College of Science to study physics. After I finished 1 year of college, I got the chance to sign a contract with Iraqi Airways to work as an aircraft maintenance engineer. It was a challenge and a new adventure for me. I was lucky because it gave me the chance to see the whole world and learn about other cultures. The company sent me to study at Spartan College of Aeronautics in Tulsa, Oklahoma, USA. It was a good experience for me. I graduated from Spartan College on October 1978 and returned back home to Iraq. I started working for Iraqi Airways the same month I got back. I started my career fully qualified to work on Boeing 707 and 747 engines and airframes. I spent time in England and Germany doing more courses. I was happy in that job. It was like a dream comes true. In July 1979, Saddam Hussein became the president of Iraq, and in 1980, the Iran-Iraq war started. This was the beginning of a series of disasters for my country. All Iraqis suffered from the war. Soldiers were killed. The economy struggled. And there were human rights abuses as the government cracked down at home. My father also died in 1979. My sister was 15. My brother was 9 years old. And my mother couldn't work anymore, so I had to take care of my family. I started my own manufacturing business, making furniture as a second job to support my family. I met my wife at Iraqi Airways when she was hired as a mechanical engineer in 1984. We got married on February the 7th, 1986. We had our first son in 1987, and our first daughter was born in 1988. My sister grew up and became an accountant. She got married in 1987. My brother was still a student at high school. During the whole time, the war between Iran and Iraq was still going, and they were very difficult years. But I was lucky because I was a very effective engineer, and Iraqi Airways couldn't afford to get rid of me and send me to the army, like many others in the company. I was very fortunate not to have to fight in the war. The war ended in August 1988, leaving at least 1 million widows and their children. Yet, we thought that we were going to rebuild our country and start a new life. Everybody was celebrating, but nobody was thinking what would come next. The celebration didn't last long. In 1990, we heard from the TV that Iraqi troops were in Kuwait and that we had started the first Gulf War. My youngest daughter was born that same year. This time the war was even harder and caused more damage than the last one. We Iraqis were overwhelmed by the cost of our society of another war and by the sanctions imposed on us by the world. I left Iraqi Airways because there were not many commercial aircraft left in the country. I started my second job making furniture and started building machines that Iraqis could no longer import from the rest of the world. I took drawing courses so I could design and build production lines. It was a good start for me. I made use of my technical experience on aircraft to modify and build machines of different kinds, as importing was prohibited because of the embargo and Iraqi government rules. My little brother graduated as a dental technician in 1993. served in the Iraqi army, and then ran away to Yemen because by then it was so hard to have a job and live a decent life or start a new family in Iraq. He has never returned to Iraq. In 1995, he ran away from Yemen to Holland, and now he is living there as a citizen. Meanwhile, the Iraqi government announced that Iraq had produced all types of weapons. Everybody was scared about what would happen. 10 years after the hard sanctions began, the second Gulf War, or what Americans call the Iraqi War, started in 2003. People were hopeful that we would finally get rid of the dictator Saddam and his corrupt government. But did the war give the Iraqis the hope they were looking for? I was one of the Iraqis who was optimistic about the future. I thought that all our dreams of a new Iraq would come true. I started supplying the American army with workstation at their Camp Victory in Baghdad International Airport. But the American army and the new Iraqi government did not realize that both of them had a lot of enemies. They should have been more aware of what they were up against, but they had no idea. Very bad things started occurring in Iraq, worse than anything that had come before. People who thought I was Sunnis threatened me in my factory, and at my home I was threatened by people who thought I was Shiites. I was about to be kidnapped in my factory and killed in my home. In 2006, my sister's family ran away to Syria after her son was kidnapped. She is still looking for a home. I ran away from Iraq to Jordan looking for a new home. I put all the money I had into a project to let me stay in Amman as a manufacturer, but Jordan would not give me a residency. It was too dangerous for me to go back to Iraq. So I went at that time to the United Nations asking them to find my family and me a new home. They sent me to an organization called the International Organization for Migration, and after almost a year, my family and I arrived to the United States as refugees. Finally, we are home. When I was a kid, my father used to teach me that the world is a big home for everybody, and that all people around the world are one family, brothers and sisters. He taught me that we must love each other and take care of each other. Can we do that?